Did you ever face with a bully and was tempted to please him in the hope that he will go away? But it usually doesn't work that way. Usually if you give them an inch, they will take a mile attitude. And exactly that was the situation that Neville Chamberlain faced at the dawn of the Second World War when he met with Hitler. What negotiation mistake did he make, if any? You will find out in this video. Hello guys, it's Žarko. Welcome to Cobblestone Negotiations, a channel where we analyze real-life negotiation situations. The event that we'll discuss today is the meeting between four European powers: Great Britain, France, Italy and Germany, organized to decide the future of German demand to annex part of Czechoslovakia, where mostly Germans lived, Sudetenland, as Germans called it. The main figures in this meeting were British and German prime ministers, Neville Chamberlain and Adolf Hitler. You probably noticed that Czechoslovakia wasn't one of the participants in this meeting, although their future was at stake. Anyway, after the First World War, new borders were drawn all over Europe, so more than 3 million Germans remained in Czechoslovakia, representing more than 23% of the country's total population. Disagreements between this German minority and the dominant population especially came to the light during the Great Depression, when the strongly export-oriented region of Sudetenland was hit the most. With the rise of the Nazis in Germany and after the annexation of Austria into the German Reich in March 1938, the next in line was the question of Sudeten Germans. Hitler accused Czechoslovakia of oppressing the German minority and even claimed that the Czechoslovak government had killed 300 Sudeten Germans. To take them into protection, Hitler demanded that Sudetenland be surrendered to Germany, and from this request came the topic of our story, the Munich Agreement. But before that, let's first depict the situation in Europe immediately before the Second World War has begun. We will focus mainly on Great Britain, as the negotiation of its then Prime Minister is today under analysis. Namely, horror images of the previous World War, like in the rest of Europe, were still fresh in Great Britain, so no one was really eager to enter into another one. Moreover, Great Britain still wasn't military ready for the new war, and what is more, they were not sure that this time they would have full support from the Commonwealth countries, like they had in World War I. To add to this sentiment, British military experts estimated far greater potential victims of the German air attacks compared to what actually occurred a few years later. Obviously, it's much easier to know it after the fact. Anyway, please bear in mind all of these factors when we later discuss the outcome of, it turned out, disastrous Chamberlain's negotiation with Hitler. As you could imagine, the situation in Europe was very tense, so on September 13, 1938, Chamberlain asked Hitler for a meeting to try to avoid the war. To add to this state of emergency, Chamberlain flew to this meeting by airplane, which was one of the first times that diplomatic representatives used this kind of transportation for diplomatic meetings. In this first meeting, Hitler demanded that Sudeten Germans be allowed to express the right of national self-determination and join Germany. He also claimed that his goal wasn't to destroy Czechoslovakia, but only to protect his fellow Germans. As the result of this meeting, Britain's and France's opinion was that Czechoslovakia should cede to Germany all territories in which the German population represented over 50% of the Sudetenland's total population. In return, they would guarantee the independence of Czechoslovakia. To increase the pressure, on 17 September, Hitler organized a paramilitary organization of ethnic Germans in Czechoslovakia and this date is later regarded as the beginning of the undeclared war between Germany and Czechoslovakia. The second meeting of the three took place on 22nd September, again in Germany. So, by the place of meetings that always were in the same place, in Germany, we can also make some conclusions. What do you think? Who wanted the agreement more? Germans or the Allies? In this moment, I will remind you of one of our negotiation principles. Care, but not that much. What do you think? Who cared too much? Anyhow, let's see where that took us. Chamberlain told Hitler that they accept the transfer of Sudetenland to Germany, hoping that this will satisfy Hitler's appetite. However, as Chamberlain didn't respect our another negotiation principle, make them work for your concessions, and he ceded too easily to Hitler's requests, now Hitler wanted more than what he initially asked. Namely, this time he requested that the whole Czechoslovakia be dissolved and its territories redistributed to Germany, Poland and Hungary. What a surprise! To add to the drama, during the meeting, one of Hitler's men entered the room and said that more Germans were killed in Czechoslovakia, which gave a perfect excuse to Hitler not to make any concessions to the Allies' demands. Moreover, he said that he will avenge any one of them and the Czechs must be destroyed. We all saw Hitler's fanatic speeches, so you can probably imagine how this meeting looked like. Now, imagine that you need to negotiate with that lunatic. Not an easy task for poor Chamberlain. However, after this drama, Hitler knew that he had gone too far, so later that evening he telephoned Chamberlain and said that he would accept annexing only Sudetenland. Just to clarify, Britain went to the meeting hoping to present their approval of annexing Sudetenland as a concession to Germans. And somehow we came to the situation where Hitler makes a concession by accepting only Sudetenland. This is not a video dedicated to Hitler's praise, far from that, but this move was an excellent example of using anger as a negotiation tool. Not everyone was happy with these developments, so Czech army started mobilization preparing for the war. On 24th September, Hitler issued the ultimatum to Czechoslovakia, which demanded that Sudetenland be surrendered to Germany until 28th September, or else Germany would take it by force. As a result, on 25th September, Czechoslovakia agreed to the conditions agreed between Britain, France and Germany. But the next day, Hitler again showed that you should never make a concession without getting anything in return, as he added new demands insisting that the claims of Germans in Poland and Hungary also be satisfied. What also helped Hitler is that signals from Great Britain were always in the direction of peace, as on 26th September, Chamberlain sent a letter to Hitler saying that the Allies wanted a peaceful resolution of the Sudeten crisis. Could this be another sign of caring too much? On 28th September, just 4 hours before Germany's deadline expired, Britain asked Mussolini to intervene with Hitler and delay the ultimatum. Mussolini did so, and Hitler apparently made a concession as he delayed the ultimatum for 24 hours, and the new meeting was scheduled for next day in Munich. In reality, Hitler's plan from the beginning was that he acquire Sudetenland on the 1st October, so again, he was a very good negotiator, only pretending to make a concession while actually his plans were still intact. The agreement in Munich was made by September 30, and according to that agreement, Germany would annex Sudetenland by 10th October, and other disputed areas would be decided by an international commission. Moreover, Czechoslovakia was informed by Great Britain and France that they have two options: either accept the conditions of the agreement or face Nazi Germany alone. Not a great choice, so Czechoslovakia capitulated and accepted the agreement. What is more, Chamberlain asked Hitler to sign the Anglo-German Naval Agreement, which is the agreement about the desire of two countries never to go to war with one another again. Another clue to help us understand who wanted an agreement more. Now, was this agreement bad? Absolutely, because of the negotiation mistakes that I outlined earlier. However, history shouldn't be that harsh to Chamberlain, as he did the best he could trying to navigate the British ship in a very complex situation. And what is important for us, this negotiation gave us a perfect example of how not to negotiate with a bully. If you have an opinion about this, please let me know in the comments below. Until then, if you like this video, please give a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. See you soon.